Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us this morning. We really appreciate you giving up your time and what we know is a really critical and challenging time for everybody, but especially in the health and social care sector. And what we want to do this morning is to go through our wellbeing webinar, and I'm happy to say that I'm joined by two fantastic guests. We've got Ursula Jays and also Darrell Mitchell. Before I ask them to introduce themselves, just a little bit about me. My name is James Pratt. I work for TribePad, and my role at TribePad is to work in partnership with health and social care sector providers to support and enhance their recruitment processes through technology. Ursula, would you mind to say a few words?
Yes, certainly, James. Thank you. Good morning to everybody. My name is Ursula Jays. I have worked for sort of 20 plus years in the HR and recruitment sectors. Last 7 years I've considered a large recruitment function across the health and social care sector, private home care provider, and with a fantastic team that I loved working with. We recruited over 3,000 hires a year, so a high volume, pace of processes and activity. And recently I'm a co-director of Relish with my business partner Kim, and we carry out contingency recruitment services. And also we've got a consultancy arm to help businesses improve their recruitment processes and efficiencies.
Thank you, Ursula. Also delighted to say that we're joined by Darrell Mitchell. Darrell, would you just introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name's Darrell Mitchell, and before I start, I need to just mention the fact that I'm talking to you from Mission Control at the moment, which is actually my son's bedroom. So I've had 25 years or so in senior HR roles, and I've worked across lots of different sectors. So most recently in the care sector, social care sector, but previously worked in the arts sector, local government, and then many years in central government. I'm a coach, and most recently I'm launching my own business, Forest Green, offering coaching and consultancy.
Thanks, Darrell, that's great. Fantastic. So for the format this morning, we've got loads of questions to fire at Ursula and Darrell. We'll get through as many of those as we can in a quick 20-minute blast, but please do add your questions as you think of them as we're talking, because at the end of that 20 minutes, we'll then go through as many of those as possible. Any of those that we can't answer, we'll then produce a bit of a PDF, bit of a sheet afterwards with all your questions answered that will be sent out following the call. So just a bit of a way of context around the wellbeing situation. So I think wellbeing was huge before COVID came along, and COVID has just sent it stratospheric, really. We know that it's an absolutely key area for businesses and organisations, not only because having a productive and positive workforce that feels secure is really important anyway, just for everybody's sanity, but also we know from an organisational perspective that it's really key for retention. And in a candidate short market, as we know health and social care sector is, we know retention is absolutely key and crucial. So with that kind of context in mind, let's go to the first question, which is for Darrell. And that is, Darrell, in your opinion, what measures can we use to mitigate a mental health pandemic at the moment? Okay,
well, I suppose the first thing to say is something positive, in that human beings are naturally very adaptable. And history has shown that, we're survivors. But I think that some of the, I suppose breaking this down into what individuals can do, what managers can do, and what organisations can do, I think individuals will need to be skilled at thriving in a more uncertain world. A lot of the things that we thought we knew about life have been turned on its head. And some of the notions that we had about job security are maybe looking a little bit old-fashioned now. Managing our own mental well-being is going to be really important through self-awareness and self-management. And I think coming together to support each other in our own families and our own local communities is going to be increasingly important. We've traditionally over recent years got together in our work communities, but I think our own local communities and our families have become more important. I think thriving outside our own comfort zones, we've all been knocked outside our comfort zones a little, And I think we need to learn to live outside our comfort zones and embrace it a bit more. Managers, I think managers need to learn to communicate in new ways, to be more inclusive, with more powerful, simple messages, and provide a clear vision in simple language so that people can get to work straight away. It's not a time for complex policies and procedures, but bold statements to inspire people. I think that traditionally people have been a bit slow to bring their creativity to work, but I think creative people are going to be able to find solutions much quicker. And I think using, it's a bit of a coaching term, but using exquisite listening skills to look at the nuances behind behaviour. And avoid making unachievable promises to our teams as well. Just, let's talk about what we can deliver. Organisations briefly can support by promoting employee assistance programs and procuring one if they don't have one. Become better at talking openly about mental health, providing support maybe through first aiders. I think providing flexibility to workers, which has not been traditional. And above all, to spot new opportunities really quickly and inspire people through collective success.
Thanks, Darrell. That's great. So a question for you. How well prepared do you think managers are to cope at this current time?
Well, I think most managers...
Sorry, Darrell, I was just going to ask Ursula that one.
Oh, okay.
Let her have a go.
Let's take that one, James. Thank you. Very good question. So it's incredible to think from a manager's perspective that this all started just a couple of weeks ago with managers handing out hand sanitizers and wipes for keyboards. And 3-4 weeks later, we're all facing this whole new working environment. I really don't think any manager was prepared for this, that on a global level, it's taken us all by surprise. And as Darrell says, taken us out of our comfort zone. And I think that particularly across the health and social care sector, many managers are facing huge business continuity issues. They've got service users to look after. It'll be a really challenging time to decide as a manager who comes first. The service users, the vulnerable people being cared for, or your employees. It's a very fragmented role, I think, for managers. And managers will be juggling many priorities. And also there's a question around how much support are managers getting from their managers. There's a whole new dimension. Everyone's job roles have changed dramatically overnight. But there's a real opportunity here for strong leaders to come through and really prove themselves during this crisis, as we call it. I think understanding the priorities and clearly articulating these to your teams. I think Darrell's alluded, this is not a time for anything complicated or any contradictory information. Any communications must be small, bite-sized, meaningful and honest. We've seen some really lovely acts of kindness that touched all of our hearts at this current time, and managers offering special things to their team, virtual birthday parties, pizza deliveries to homes on Friday. They don't have to be big gestures. Even simple things that I get from my colleagues as a simple text at night, or an unscheduled call, not to do with work, but just ask how you are. I think many managers will have a big shock, but so many are rising to the challenge, and we've all got examples of that. But I think communication will be really key. There's new forms of communications. We're on Zoom already. People are using all sorts of new tech, but we need to get across to our employees that we're needing to create a stable environment for them. We want them to be productive and carry on with their fruitful careers, but it's a whole new platform.
Sure. Thank you for that, Ursula. Next question to Darrell. Darrell, do we know the long-term effects of COVID-19? Do you think on the psychological kind of health of employees? What do you think about that?
Well, I think we're all in uncharted territory here, but I think that we can make an educated guess. I think we've already talked about how resilient human beings are, and their ability to come together during times of crisis. I think it's likely that individuals within our workforce, when they gather back together, are going to be experiencing grief and loss of some kind. You know, it may not have been the grief of losing loved ones, although it may be. But we've all had some significant losses during this time. Many people have lost their jobs, even if and had their careers interrupted and their plans. Loss of our children's schooling is another key issue. Our finances, even our holidays, our social life, life events like weddings, our personal goals, and more importantly than all of this, Liverpool being robbed of winning the Premier League, which is the biggest one, clearly. Many people will be able to focus on the positives, I think. You know, for instance, that we've had some time to ourselves, and I've set up my own business, which has been something that I would have struggled to find the time to do otherwise. But I think that many employees become racing back to work, keen to put things back to how they were. I think some others are going to struggle with that. They'll feel nervous. There'll be a lack of confidence, and I think there'll be some employees turning up who will be, feeling a huge lack of confidence. And I think some employees will find it hard to come in at all. And managers are going to have to manage that situation. And I think organisations will succeed in sort of unlocking everybody's potential once again. If they're able to put those few strategic interventions in place that we talked about, for instance, the employee assistance programme, but more than that, to support managers to make sensible and timely people decisions themselves, exercise good judgment based on successful partnerships with HR, which there's never been a time where it's been more important for managers and HR to work in partnership. And I think gaining skills such as listening, clear, strong communication, as we talked about, and team building, and not getting bogged down in the complexities of policy and procedure, but be able to be truly flexible. And I feel that's how some of those challenges will be overcome.
Fantastic, thank you, Darrell. Ursula, next question for you. Do you think employers need to revisit the relationships they have with employees at this time?
Oh, hugely, massively. It's come about because of the crisis, really. It's made everyone rethink about their relationships, and we've all had to adapt to that. We're all very aware that we're all living and working in a whole new world. And I very much believe that many employees will now have a whole new set of values. The things that were important to them before won't seem as important. I mean, Darrell mentioned things like holidays and birthdays. It's a disappointment to miss them, but there's so many other questions out there. From an employer point of view, I think the whole psychological contract has changed radically overnight through COVID. And I think with any relationship, things need to be re-looked at, possibly rebuilt. A whole new array of skills needs to be brought to the forefront to deal with remote working relationships, people feeling nervous, lack of stability, job insecurity. There's so many big questions all of a sudden, so burdening people. I also think a lot of the former hierarchies in our places of work have changed greatly, and I think the rigidity, if you like, of the working environment has been mixed up overnight. So it's like a bit of a revolution in that respect. And it's quite refreshing to see, that this whole crisis has almost acted as a unifier of some very previously strict management layers. I think we all know that this is a virus that holds no boundaries on wealth, on status, on job title. We only have to look at, good old Boris there in intensive care. This is affecting everybody. And relationships are different. I mean, I would never have known that Darrell had got a space shuttle in his house, and I've done Zoom calls in the last week with dogs, babies, washing machines. So I think it's brought us all together a lot closer, and I don't think people see their boss as the big boss anymore. I think, you know, we've all naturally come together, and I think, you know, for the previously very money targeted employers, I think that they're not talking so much about targets, about KPIs, about P&L and growth curves. I think that we've all taken a softer approach, which is fantastic. And just sort of, you know, leading on from this, I think we do need to be mindful of the employer brand. I think, you know, be very careful about how employers approach their people strategy during COVID. You know, I've seen some things on Glassdoor and Indeed company pages that have been a bit negative about how certain employers have approached the whole crisis. There's an opportunity for everyone to do their bit and get some positive messages out there. And, you know, I'm sure in the future, you know, a key interview question is going to be, you know, how did you, employer, approach the COVID-19 crisis? What are your people strategies? What is your policy, particularly in the health and healthcare sector?
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Ursula. Great. So what we'll do then is we'll go into a bit of the Q&A and have a look to see what questions are coming through. So we've got a few up here. So one for Darrell, I think first. Darrell, what skills do you think will be particularly important to managers kind of following the pandemic?
Okay, good question. I think key leadership skills really. I think that being focused on the individual and what the individual can bring to the organisation, I think is really important. I think it's not just about what leaders do, but what they decide not to do for a while. You know, people aren't going to be able to do everything. Managers aren't superhuman; they won't be able to do everything. So it's about where they place their attention that will be really important. I think they need some courage to stick to their convictions and some courage to ask for help when they need it as well. I think positive messages, but being realistic and not over-promising. Those excellent listening skills that I mentioned, I think that's really important, because sometimes the things that people have got to say will be between the lines and in the silences, and those are things for managers to read. And I think some managers are not particularly comfortable with personal conversations or interpersonal conversations. And I think they need to learn some of those skills very quickly, because you know, we need to be happy to talk about mental health. We need to be happy to talk about how people are feeling and what they've been through, but also respect the fact that they may not want to talk about it. And I think that's all a very difficult balance. And I think managers who've got the confidence to go in and tackle those things will do best. And I think finally, you know, to build partnerships with HR will be really important, and those partnerships may look slightly different than they have.
Thank you for that, Darrell. Ursula, I've got one for you. What can we do to help remote workers stay positive in this environment?
Definitely. So the numbers of people working remotely is in their millions. Look at the three of us in our home environments already this morning, and many people on the call today. So yeah, thinking from my own perspective, how would I like my manager to be keeping me positive? I think it's about making time to listen, making time to chat, making people feel that they are a priority at the moment. People will be dealing with this very differently. Some people have caught up really quickly, getting on with their lives. Other people are still struggling to catch up with how this is going to impact them on a short and indeed a long-term basis, which is where I think a lot of people are struggling. Certainly myself, it's hard for me to imagine what I'm going to be doing in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, and you know, my family and loved ones. So I think, you know, it is about communication, and I think it is about you know, organising remote groups. I mean, so many of us already are having, you know, after drinks on a Friday, Zoom calls, you know, mini hangout groups, and yeah, there's a real drive at the moment for people to feel connected more than ever. So the irony is, we're all social distancing, but we're craving that connection. And, you know, I love it when the phone rings, whereas when I was so busy, sort of 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was seeing people every day, it wasn't so special. But now I notice, even in my own, business and home life, I'm taking more time to listen to people rather than just talking away. So managers, keeping everyone positive, you know, keep everything social, give people something to look forward to, try to make a difference between Monday, Friday and the weekends. Otherwise it can all feel very samey. And take advantages in the technology by having Zoom calls. And also, I think, you know, encouraging your employees to take a break from the news. I've certainly felt better myself without overloading myself with too much news. And I look at it lunchtime and evening, and then I stop, because it can really weigh heavy on certain people, and I'm one of those. I can overthink it. But then just simple distractions, you know, going back to some old-fashioned pastimes that you know, used to give us pleasure that we didn't have time to do. You know, there are certain things that we can benefit during this very difficult time. And you know, perhaps revisiting an old skill, you know, taking a new skill. You know, YouTube is an amazing place to learn from. You know, doing a bit of yoga, a jigsaw, just things to keep us active and busy during these weeks to come.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Ursula. And then final question to Darrell. Darrell, how can HR best support managers, do you think, in the post-COVID-19 world?
Yeah, I think it's never been more important for HR and managers to be really close and be united. And I think HR need to stay business focused and be more business focused perhaps than they would traditionally feel comfortable with. And I think how that might look in practice is that, you know, if there's an issue that can be dealt with informally, then deal with it informally and move on. I would say, you know, don't spend time on complicated policies and procedures if you can avoid it, because I think that will only take everybody away from the thing that they're trying to achieve. And I think try and be imaginative and bring your creativity to work to try and find solutions that, you know, that will maybe inspire people and save time. Display that united front, but behave ethically. And I think it's always important for HR to be that ethical voice. And I think it's never been more important. And I think, you know, to be human, come up with human solutions, solutions that suit one employee may not suit another. And look after yourselves. That's the main thing. Look after each other, because you know, it's always hard, but at the moment I think, you know, we all need all the energy that we can get, you know, and find ways to recharge your batteries. But it's a very important time, I think, for HR and business to link up.
Thanks for that, Darrell. That seems like a good place to end. We really hope that you found this session to be really interesting. We tried to make a bit of a bite-sized look at the issue of wellbeing. Any questions that have been inputted, we will put those on an email that's going to come out following up this webinar. So we will have answers to those questions, and feel free to drop any in the next couple of seconds. But you know, on behalf of our panelists, thank you to Darrell and Ursula for your time. Thank you to everyone who's joined. I do apologise if there's been a little bit of crackle on there, but hopefully it hasn't disrupted your enjoyment or the usefulness of the session. We would love to hear your feedback, so please do come back to us and let us know what you thought. If there are any areas that you'd like us to tackle, again, please do give us a shout on that. But thank you again for your time. We appreciate everything you're doing. We know now who the key workers are in society. So thank you for so much for everyone in the health social care sector and all the work they're doing. And we look forward to hopefully speaking with you again at some point in the near future. Take care and goodbye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.